Yeah, I'm trying to keep us all together. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep us all together, but so many people out there throwing hand grenades, trying to separate us all. Holy smokes. We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, ring that notification bell, smash the like button, share the video if you want to support this college football's Rebel Outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $ where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. This is an absolutely stacked show today. I told the little general, I do not know how long we're going to be on today. We're going to be on longer than 2 hours. I don't know how much longer than 2 hours. Maybe y'all going to leave the chat room. Maybe no one will watch this program. Maybe I'll shut it down in 45 minutes. But I probably would sit here and still just talk to myself alone in front of this microphone. This is an absolutely crazy day in college football. We're going to begin this show with the fat guy from Minnesota throwing an elbow at the SEC. Then I'm going to throw an elbow at the Big Ten. Then we're going to be talking about the Louisville Cardinals. The Louisville Cardinals, now, hopefully some of you will give me an opportunity to explain my position on this. The Louisville Cardinals did come out in support of Cody Campbell's plan. They came out today. Now, I've gone back and forth with some of you already today on this. I did not have the time to go back and forth with every one of you on this today, but I went back and forth a couple of times. I poked and prodded on this, the chatter behind the curtain, because I get it. You read this long message from the Louisville Cardinals, and I get it. Some people are saying, great. Louisville hasn't come out and they haven't explicitly said that they are in favor of the Cody Campbell plan. Greg, they did not do that. Come on, Greg. You're being unfair. You're gaslighting, whatever they call me. Nah. No. They did come out and they have now officially come out and supporting the Cody Campbell plan. There is one particular line in this long dissertation, this long post from the Louisville Cardinals. There's one particular part of that whole thing that says it all. They sent out the message. They threw a lot of other stuff in there, right? They threw a lot of other stuff in there. But there was one message that Louisville was putting out there. One message. And we're going to go into that. We're going to go, and it's not just the fat guy from Minnesota who picked up on this. No. Nope. I know I'm not the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I just know where every refrigerator is and every place that I walk into. I know I'm not some Einstein out there. I know I am the original Minnesota moron. I get it. I am the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. But I picked up on it. The chatter behind the curtain has picked up on it. There are national reporters who've come out and said, yeah, Louisville has just endorsed the Cody Campbell plan. Cody Campbell himself has just posted, we're going to look at that, he's applauding the Louisville Cardinals. Now, a lot of you are going to, good. A lot of you are clapping your hands. Outstanding. Way to go, Louisville. Well, this really doesn't come as a surprise because The Big Ten and the SEC in their white papers, they know that the Cody Campbell plan has ACC and Big 12 support scattered throughout, gaining momentum with people up in Congress. So Louisville has come out. Is there going to be another ACC team that's going to come out in favor of the Cody Campbell plan? Probably. It probably isn't going to be North Carolina. Probably not going to be Miami. Probably not going to be Virginia. Probably not going to be some Big 12 school like a Utah. And I'll let you guys figure out why I am saying that. But there are going to be more coming. And again, most of the Louisville Cardinals statement most of it is like, yep. We've all got budget concerns. We've all got this issue. We've all got that issue. We got the $20.5 million revenue share that hit us all. It hit us hard. Our reservoirs are drying up with money. We've all got, not all of us, but a lot of us has got institutional support from my university. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. About 95% of the Louisville Post today could have been written by 95% of the Power 4 pro schools out there. But Louisville threw in one bit in there that made it quite clear if you read it. And we're going to make sure you all read it a couple of times. There's one little part in there that, well, Louisville, PATC is reporting to you all, peek around the corner, that Louisville is supporting the Cody Campbell plan, the Cody Campbell effort. So we are going to be talking about that. But first, I've got some elbows to be thrown. First, the SEC, then the Big Ten. But first, before we all do that, I want to bring up something else here in a little bit. We've got a Ricky Tungate gifted membership. James Shell got the gifted memberships. James, when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to the very generous Mr. Huja, Ricky Tungate. James and Ricky, both of you are knighted. Both of you are knighted. Cloak and dagger. James, this means because of the generosity of Mr. Tungate, you can go into our library of episodes, watch all the episodes, including members only early P Cloak and Dagger episodes. So congratulations, James. Welcome to the family. Thank you, Mr. Ricky Tungate, for all of your support with our program. Very much appreciated. We've got Christopher Hura. We've got Christopher Hooter, the LSU Tiger. He is in the house. He is in the house, and he has started our super chats off. Christopher Hooter, $2 holler. My hunch. Most not SEC Big 12 will get behind Cody. $2 holler, Christopher Hooter. And thank you, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate your generosity. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Here I am today. Here I am today, all excited about more momentum. And we're going to get into it. More momentum for playoffs. Army of 24, a 24-team playoff. Dance, baby, dance. They're dancing at the 50-yard line. We got more momentum. We've got more momentum. There are more people in the SEC that are looking around. We did a live show on this yesterday. They're looking around. They're going, yeah, I like this. Let's go. And you all know how I feel about it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to bring up the value of the regular season. Some of you respectfully disagree. That's fine, but I'm a big believer in it. We're getting closer and closer and closer. We've got momentum, and I think it's going to be the ties that bind all of us together, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. And then we got Louisville coming out and supporting the Cody Campbell plan. And the SEC is going to look at that and say, okay, well, the SEC is not going to go with the Cody Campbell plan. That just ain't going to happen. Now, I know some of you would say, well, then the SEC, there's going to be a blowback. They're going to have legal issues. They're going to, okay, fine. The SEC is going to be like, bring it on. Let's go. If we can't even have freedom of association, if you're going to put us under a charter, a governing charter, government, this is absolutely ridiculous. So, today we were going to have a great, positive show today. The Army of 24. More and more voices in the SEC are supporting it. We did a live show on it yesterday. We had Kirby Smart come out and say 16 or 24, and then he talked about the playoff of 24 being best for the fan base. We had a Chris Doreen, SEC analyst. He wants the playoff of 24, and now we got another big voice in the Southeastern Conference that he is flat out saying, I prefer the playoff of 24, the Big Ten version, over the 16. That should be the leading story of today. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the playoff of 24 years down the line is going to be the cure-all. It's not. Of course it's not. It's not. But here we are. This show has been voicing its support. We've been leading the way. Army of 24, we have been leading the way. We are getting closer. We got momentum. We've got momentum going in the Southeastern Conference May meetings. 99% of the college football people thought I was nuts. And that includes the chatter behind the curtain. They don't think I'm nuts anymore. They don't think you're nuts anymore. Well, I think you're nuts, but they don't think you're nuts anymore. But if Louisville, the SEC is not going to, they're not going to agree with the playoff of 24. If you're gonna keep pushing this Cody Campbell plan, it ain't gonna happen. You can't have both. You're not going to get either the way things are going. So, it was going to be a very positive show. We're still going to talk about the positivity of more momentum for the Army of 24 in SEC country. We're going to cover that story. But at the end of all this, the Louisville Cardinals are throwing their support toward the Cody Campbell plan. Thank you, Christopher Hooter, for your $2 holler. I very much appreciate it, sir. Let's do the roll call. Bruce Harris is in the house. Nick Kelso is here. The Florida man, Gold Nose, Don Scruggs. Preston from North Carolina is in the house. Bob Swanger. We are. Penn State. Old Dad Seminole Wind is here. Jay Chapman is here. Stephen Vitt the Bobcat is here. Ricky Tungate, thanks for coming on in, Ricky. Thank you for the gifted membership. Very much appreciate it. Rich Austin. Greg DeGold, let's go. I don't think Utah is going to be singing today. No singing. I'm not ready yet. I am not ready yet. Look, I got a lot of boos in my last performance. A lot of you were absolutely disgusted with my performance. And it was not a good one. So y'all are being honest. But it's going to take a while for me to get over that, right? My self-esteem has been damaged. I don't want to, the next time I perform, I don't want to be sitting there shaking in front of the microphone going, my goodness, am I going to have another bad performance? I don't want to do that. So I gotta hit the reset button. I gotta hit the reset button, just like I do when I break the cooler every single week of the year with my picks against the spread. I got to take a little time to recover off my bad performance of a Fleetwood Mac song. Kayla Ramirez is in the house. Skaven Yes Yes is here. My goodness. Christopher Hooter, go Tigers. Go Tigers. Josh Chenault, thanks for coming on in. Jad Price is in the house. Chop. Spangler, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Kansas took game 4 of a 4-game series against my beloved Golden Gophers in baseball. We had a 4-game series. Kansas took game 1. Minnesota took game 2 and 3. And Kansas blew the doors off the Gophers in game 4. Boo! Boo, Kansas! Boo! Dead-I-Yo is in the house. Grateful Trojan is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Fight on Trojan. John Dry is here. John Dry. David Floyd, I support. Cody Campbell. Lorenzo Haynes, thanks for coming on in. David Floyd, appreciate it. Lorenzo Haynes. Lorenzo Haynes is in the house. Jimmy, the Duck is here. The Duck is here. Jimmy Austin. Mama Duck, Clemson Tigers. Thanks for coming on in. Mama Duck. The TCU Horned Frog himself, Mick Stevens, PATC, original member of the family. Tom Debate, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Who else is here? Al Bundy is in the house. JBH4404. Thanks for coming on in. It sounds like 23-1 is the only one on the table, JBH. Sounds like that's the only one on the table. The Big Ten capitulated. The Big Ten capitulated. D5 Terps is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, Mr. Terrapin. Appreciate it very much. All right, here we go. We've got a big old show. First of all, let's have a little fun here. All right? Everybody relax. Everybody relax. Josh Pate came out with the perfect CFB conferences. Right? 10-member conferences with 3 independents. Now, the only reason I'm putting this up on the board is people got to relax. Now, that's funny for me to say that because I'm not going to be relaxed during this live show. But something like this, Josh Pate is not predicting this to happen. He's just acting like if he was the commissioner, this is what he would do. This is for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. I see so many comments on X. Everybody's losing their minds on this. This is not like where we saw the draft of what the conferences would be under the Super League plan, which was a serious attempt backed by private equity. That's a different whole thing. This is Josh Pate. He's just putting out, it's just a thought-provoking idea of what he would have the conferences if he was the commissioner of all of college football. Now, I made a comment on this because Josh Pate made his conferences based upon regionality and traditional, okay? So I made a comment to Josh Pate saying, Northwestern as an independent, Northwestern not being a part of the Big Ten, Northwestern is the quintessential regional Big Ten member and traditional Big Ten member. And then Josh Pate said back to me, that is the exception. And then I wrote back to him, the commissioner exception. So, but a lot of people are saying, oh, this is terrible. This is horrible. This would never happen. And oh, Josh Pate he's being a grifter. He's blah blah. Come on. I mean, it's gotten to the point where literally people can't even talk about college football because they're called a grifter nowadays. This is just a fun exercise. That's what it is. Take it for what it is. Take it for what it is. Put down your own perfect CFP conferences and how you would have them if you were the commissioner. I just wanted to put that out there. There are so many people taking themselves way too serious when they're talking about this stuff. This is not a written up plan by a private equity, okay? This is a guy who's just want to talk college football. That's all it is. That's what we do here as well, many times here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay, I just wanted to start off with that. All right. Let's start out with me throwing an elbow. Let's start with me throwing an elbow at the Southeastern Conference. I'm sorry, but I got to throw this elbow. I know what Greg Sankey is trying to do here. I know what he's very smart. He's very cunning. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. But I'm not going to let this go without a response. And for those who are very sensitive, when I throw an elbow at the Southeastern Conference, you might want to leave the channel right now and come back a little bit later. Because I'm going to throw an elbow. I am going to throw an elbow back at the Big Ten in the next story. So people in the Big Ten, are you sensitive? If I throw an elbow at the Big Ten, you might want to leave a little bit later after all the SEC people leave. All right? Greg Sankey. I got my eye on you. I know what you're doing here. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Sporting news. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey wants to repeal the transfer rule. Do ya, Mr. Sankey? Do ya? SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey is pushing for a return to a one-time transfer rule in college athletics. While many want the landscape to evolve, he's wanting to revert to the past and calling for a national eligibility standards that put academics first while bringing consistency to roster management. So Greg Sankey is very concerned about the academics of the student athletes. If they're transferring all over the place, it's going to hurt their academics. It's going to hurt their academics. Greg Sankey is doing this for the good of the student athlete. Greg Sankey is trying to stop all these multiple transfers for a student athlete's career. He only wants to make it one transfer per student athlete because of their academics. Sankey commented on the issue during Thursday night during a top 25 women's basketball matchup, Texas Longhorns and Georgia. He's also scheduled to attend a roundtable hosted by Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. this week with over 40 other people. During the broadcast, Sankey addressed the NCAA transfer portal and the NIL landscape, advocating for clear national guidelines. My advocacy would be, hey, we should be back to some type of one-time transfer exception, PATC money shot of the article. My advocacy would be, hey, we should be back to some time of one-time transfer exemption, Sankey said. But we have to support educational continuity if we truly believe the academics is the heart of what we do. Sankey expressed concern about older players remaining in college athletics for the extended periods, noting that the presence of 26 to 28-year-olds can limit opportunities for high school recruits. He argued that national standards would ensure fairness across conferences and prevent uneven enforcement through state-by-state court rulings. Sankey, his stance has remained consistent in eligibility disputes, and there is the list of those eligibility disputes. As of now, there will have to be a lot of overhaul to make this happen for Sankey. The NCAA would need to be on board, which that's not the direction any sport is headed. So in conclusion, on this first article, the first story that we are covering, Greg Sankey is trying to get back in a time where you only permitted one transfer in your career as a student athlete. The NCAA is not backing that up because they know they're going to get obliterated in the courts. That's not the rule. You're going to have to get congressional. You're going to have to get that codification. You're going to have to get the NCAA or somebody to have the authority to make that rule. We're a long ways away from that, but Greg Sankey wants that in. Greg Sankey wants to go back to that. Why does Greg Sankey want to go back to that? Because it hurts the Southeastern Conference the most when players can transfer more than one time. In other words, the Southeastern Conference sandbox, everybody playing in the sandbox. They're 16 years old. They're 17 years old. They're big-time high school recruits. They go to an SEC institution. And a lot of that great talent, a lot of those great student athletes in Southeastern Conference country, they're transferring out of the conference. Maybe they don't do it the first time. But they do it the second time. They do it the third time. The more transfers we get, the less control the Southeastern Conference has on their backyard recruitment grounds, their front yard recruitment grounds. the recruitment garden that they've got plotted over on the east end of their facilities, over on the left end of their facilities. The one transfer rule is the best world for the Southeastern Conference. But that world doesn't exist now. And it probably ain't going to exist in the near future or ever again. But you see how Greg Sankey, you see, he's advocating for it. Because it's best for the Southeastern Conference. And I will bet you my dollars to your donuts. You have to give me a donut, I give you $1. I bet you if the Southeastern Conference ever does, which was once thought of as the unthinkable, if the Southeastern Conference goes their own way, if they go into their own silo, that one transfer per student athlete, that's going to go into place in the Southeastern Conference. Now, of course, I do not agree with that stance. I understand how it's very difficult with roster management. I'm hoping that can be overcome by contracts. You can have more than a yearly contract, binding contracts, so hopefully we get to that point. But if a student athlete, they should be allowed to transfer more than one time if they're not under contract with the particular football, basketball team. So that is my elbow being thrown at Greg Sankey. We know why you're saying that, Sankey. I know you're saying it's all for academic reasons, and some of that is true. But you're advocating for that because that is best. That is best for the Southeastern Conference to go back to the one transfer rule. Don't think it's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Now for the elbow thrown at the Big Ten. And I don't know what the hell you're doing, Big Ten. I do not know. I don't get it. The Big Ten has let the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, you've given those three conferences the high ground, the moral high ground on the scheduling issue. And there's no reason whatsoever you gave up the high ground to the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. There's got to be a reason. And I don't know what it is. I'm gonna throw out a little speculation. I'm not saying this is true. I'm speculating why the Big Ten has given up the moral high ground, the leverage on football scheduling. So we're going to get to that in a moment. The Evil Badger. Ryan Willie is in the house. $5 holler, Evil Badger. Where's Minnesota in Pate's conference alignment? I think we're stuck with the Badgers. I think that's where we are. I think we're stuck with the Badgers. In the Big Ten, it would be the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, Spartans, Penn State, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue, Illinois, Indiana. Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, I don't think anybody is going to split us apart. We have played each other how many times? Nobody is going to be splitting apart the Badger and the Gopher. I don't think anyone would be that stupid. Thank you for the $5 holler, Evil Badger. Very much appreciate your friendship and your generosity. All right? So what am I talking about here? Why am I throwing an elbow again at the Big Ten? Because, God, this is so stupid. I don't get it. I don't get it. There's got to be a reason. College football's next great scheduling debate: should everyone play 10 Power 4 opponents? Ralph Russo article in The Athletic. We're only going to go to the first part of it and the last part of it. It's a long article, a great article. Go read it at The Athletic. Ralph Russo. For years, the Big Ten coaches and administrators needled the SEC about playing 8-game conference schedule while the football programs played 9. The SECers could talk all they wanted about how tough their league was, but the math was what it was, and playing one fewer conference game when paired with carefully created non-conference slate could help inflate overall records, and they did, and they did, and they did. Now that the SEC is making the move to 9 conference games, started in 2026, while also requiring members to play at least one team from one of the other Power 4 conferences, the Jabs are heading the other direction. Yes! The Big Ten is getting hit left and right. The SEC left jab, the Big 12 left jab, the ACC's right uppercut. The Big Ten is the only power conference that does not require its members to play at least one P4 opponent out of the league for a total of 10 P4 games. Why is it not a requirement? Why is it not a requirement in the Big Ten? Let me know in the chat room. Let me know in the chat room. You know what? It should look like this. Everyone who competes in the tournament should have an equitable schedule. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland said in late February. It's complicated. We're playing 9+1. Not all the other conferences are doing that. At a minimum, every P4 conference should commit to that. Alabama Athletic Director Greg Burns said. Alabama Athletic Director is absolutely correct. Oklahoma State former Athletic Director. I think there should be a requirement for any team considered for selection that they've got to play a minimum of 10 Power 4 games. Joe is correct. Putting together a football schedule is a little like piecing together a puzzle. Lifting competitive factors alongside logistics and financials. Traditionally, the number of pieces and their importance differ from school to school. The playoff is changing that. Ensuring your team is positioned to compete for a spot in the playoff is now the consensus top priority. A few years back, the promise of an expanded playoff had some schools loading up their non-conference slates with multiple games against power conference opponents, the idea being that a bigger tournament field would provide leeway to lose more regular season games. Those decisions are now being reconsidered, and non-conference scheduling is becoming more standardized in the power leagues, with one marquee matchup versus a P4 peer and 2 purchase home games against a traditionally lesser opponents to try to ensure at least 7 home games per season. The strength of schedule sparring has continued around college football postseason, grown in intensity as the CFP expanded from 4 to 12 teams 2 years ago, and now the SEC believes it holds the higher ground, and they do. The Southeastern Conference holds the higher ground. Why did the Big Ten give that up? I have no idea. Why is it so difficult for the Big Ten to require 10 P4 opponents every year? I have no idea. Most of the schools do it every year, so why not just make it a requirement? After the 2024 season, the SEC and the Big Ten pushed for tweaks to the selection process that would put more emphasis on strength of schedule. I think it hasn't gone far enough, Alabama Athletic Director said. He noted the committee tends to group teams in a way that signals the risk of playing up in non-conference outweigh the rewards. What we have seen is teams get put in the buckets. No loss, 1 loss, 2 loss, 3 loss. Burns said, if you want to keep these high-profile non-conference games, don't keep putting everybody in these buckets. In 2026, every SEC team will play 10 games against P4 opponents. Over in the ACC, which also requires at least 10 P4 opponents for its 17 members. For Big 12 teams that don't have a P4 opponent on their non-conference schedule this year, including defending champion Texas Tech, that comes with a catch. The Red Raiders, the Sun Devils, the Cougars, the Wildcats each have a game against either Oregon State or Washington State that was scheduled, and those schools were part of the previous iteration of the Pac-12. Getting non-conference games, especially ones against the P4 opponents on short notice, is difficult. So the Big 12 allowed those games to count toward the scheduling requirement. Texas Tech has a game against North Carolina State in the ACC in 2027, but has 2 open dates in 28 and 29 after Mississippi State canceled a previously scheduled home and home. So we're in the market for a Power 4 opponent in those 2 years, Texas athletic director said. And frankly, there's limited schools out there with an opportunity to play. In the Big Ten, 5 teams have no non-conference P4 opponents on their schedules this season, including defending national champion Indiana. The playoff remains a 12-team event this year after the Big Ten and the SEC could not come to an agreement on an expansion plan. The SEC wants 16. The Big Ten prefers 24, but has backed away from the idea of having each P4 conference receive multiple automatic bids determined by conference standings. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Pate had made the case that automatic qualifiers would encourage teams to bulk up on their non-conference schedules. Tony Pate was absolutely correct. And that is why we at PATC endorse the 4-4-4-4-2-6. The solution to the non-conference schedules being butchered is to go with the big-time AQ playoffs. But we're not going to go there, are we? We're not going to go there, are we? What's next for the CFP format beyond 2026 is still to be determined, and so is the future non-conference scheduling. I speak from a power conference school perspective. So a group of 6 school may feel different, but it'd be pretty cool if the CFP said, if you are a power conference team, you have to play a minimum of 11 power conference games to be eligible, Strickland said. That'd be pretty compelling, right? PATC money shot number 2 of the article. You see what Strickland said? If you are a power conference team, you have to play a minimum of 11 power conference games to be eligible. Now, I got the question. Did Strickland mean 11 power conference games to be eligible? He's talking about 11 Power 4 opponents, correct? To be eligible for the playoffs. Here's the thing. Just speculation on my part. I keep asking the question, not just to you all, but I ask the question to those that chatter behind the curtain, the BTM, I keep asking the question, why doesn't the Big Ten just require the 10 P4 opponents like the Big 12's doing, like the SEC's doing, like the Southeastern Conference doing? Why are they not making it a requirement? Most of the Big Ten teams have been doing it for years. Why is it so hard to go up that next level and make it a requirement? I've got a little bit of speculation on why it might not have happened yet. Just speculation on my part. But it might be because maybe the Big Ten hasn't really committed themselves to 9 conference games. 9 Big Ten conference games in football. Maybe, just maybe, the Big Ten keeps discussing, socializing among themselves of a world of 10 Big Ten conference games. Now, I reported to you a couple of years ago, Andy Greeter, the great sports columnist that covers the Gophers, St. Paul Pioneer Press, he reported, I showed you guys the article at the time, that PJ Fleck's contract, his head coaching contract, he has bonuses in it, right, for wins during the season. Every coach has that. If you win 7 games, you win this much, you get this much more money, 8, 9, 10 games during the season. In PJ Fleck's contract, there's one part where it's the traditional Big Ten 9. If Big Ten has 9 conference games, this is your bonus, PJ Fleck. But if the Big Ten would ever go to 10 conference games, now these are your bonuses, PJ Fleck. When I reported that story a couple of years ago, and I poked and prodded, had a few people tell me that, other coaches have that same exact language in their contract inside the Big Ten. That the numbers would change, the number of wins. You would not have to win as many games to get the same bonus if the Big Ten went from 9 conference games to 10, because it would be more difficult to reach that 7 win, that 8 win, that 9 win bonuses. And I'm just wondering, I'm speculating, I've been asking this question. Some other people have been asking the same questions. Why is not the Big Ten requiring a 10 Power 4 opponents? And it may be that the Big Ten is still not settled on the 9 conference games. They might be going, now that they see the SEC going to 9 conference games, maybe the Big Ten goes to 10 conference games. Especially if the Big Ten is going to expand in their conference in the next couple of years. Especially if we are going to a 24-team playoff. And you know that Tony Petiti has been fighting for the AQs. So it would not matter about how many conference games. Your top 4 teams are going to get the AQs, and then some other teams might get a large bit. That might be the reason why the Big Ten has not made it a requirement. Speculation on my part. But I just wanted to throw that out there. If that is not a reason for it, if that's not what is going on, why isn't the Big Ten making it a requirement? You've lost the high ground to the Southeastern Conference. You've lost the high ground to the ACC. You've lost the high ground to the Big 12. College football peak around the corner. We support the Big 10. We urge the Big 10 to go to a requirement of 10 Power 4 opponents. You can grandfather it in. You can make the requirement 2 years from now. Whatever. Make it easy. But just make it a requirement. If not, why not? Tony Petiti, answer the question. If not, why not? I've tried to figure out the answer. I've Googled it. I don't know. Like, what has Tony Petiti said about it? Silent. Silence Tony. Silence Tony on this question. Anyways, there it is. I just wanted to talk about that as well. Amazing Blue. Thank you for the super chat. $5 holler, Amazing Blue. Thank you so much for your generosity. 10th conference game could be the mini conference playoff for seeding, Greg. Thoughts? I don't think the Big Ten is going to have I don't think the Big Ten is interested in having a conference tournament. If everybody else agreed with it, the Big Ten would have loved to have playing games for that automatic qualifying, those automatic qualifiers within the conference. But that is off the table. So I think a 10th conference game would just be a 10th conference game. So you would have 2 non-conference games. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem with 10 conference games. Thank you for the $5 holler, Amazing Blue. Thank you so very much. Christopher Hooter put it out there. 5 home games, 5 away games. Okay, in your conference slate. Instead of alternating back and forth, 5 home, 4 away, 5 away, 4 home. Now, a few years ago, now you can Google this. Anybody can Google this. A few years ago, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, whatever, 6, 7, the Big Ten was contemplating about going to 10 conference games. Now, ultimately, they decided against it if the SEC was going to stay at 8. Well, now SEC's gone to 9. But one of the difficulties of going to 10 conference games is there are going to be seasons in which you only have 6 home games in not 7. Because if you go into 10 conference games and going 5-5, there are going to be years that you're going to go 1-1 in the non-conference, 1 home, 1 away. You're going to want to play at Texas. You're going to want to play at LSU. You're going to want to go out and play somewhere. Have a home and home with a top program in college football, if you can get that scheduled. So going to 10 conference games most likely is going to be reducing the home football games that you have at your stadium. And nobody wants to do that. Now, one of the scary solutions is the reason why the Big Ten might be interested in going to 10 conference games is if the Southeastern Conference is going to be canceling all these games, if the Buckeye-Alabama game is going to be canceled, that hasn't been canceled yet. That 2-game series has not been canceled yet. But if we're all just going to go on our own silos, maybe not for governance, but for scheduling purposes, like everybody walks back, everybody goes in their own cave, so to speak. Maybe not entirely, maybe not a complete silo when it comes to governance, going on your own, but a pullback. We're not going to play. We're just going to play more against each other. You know, so in that world, and I hope we don't get into that world, but in that world, you can see the Big Ten going to 10 conference games, 5-5, in having 2 home games, having both non-conference games being home games. Say, hey, you want to have you want to play a Big Ten team? You got to come to our place. And most of those games are going to be against the G6. If a Big 12 ACC team wants to go to Big Ten, they can play the Big Ten. Maybe once in a while, the Big Ten team will go to the Big 12 ACC. But if the Southeastern Conference is going to pull all the way back and the Big Ten pulls all the way back, now you're looking at the potential of 10 conference games. Hopefully, we don't get there. Hopefully, we don't get there. Thank you, Amazing Blue. Thank you for the generosity. Appreciate it so very much. Now, we haven't even gotten to our big story, and we're not going to get there yet. The Louisville Cardinals have come out in support of the Cody Campbell plan, but we can't get there quite yet. We started out this live show March 2nd, throwing an elbow at the SEC. Now we just threw an elbow at the Big Ten. Now we're going to celebrate. The Army of 24 is gaining momentum. The Army of 24, we're trying to save the world. We're trying to save college football. We're trying to expand to a 2014 playoff that will bind us all together. We're dancing, baby. Dance, baby, dance. More momentum. More momentum. It's happening. It's happening. More momentum. What are you talking about, Greg? You talked about this yesterday. You're blubbering all over just because Kirby Smart is open to it. Just because Kirby Smart is open to it, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything, Greg. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Chris Lowe. On 3. Josh Heupel, Tennessee. You must be from Tennessee because you are the only 10 I see shares the passion of Tennessee fan base to win a national title. We're in a race to get it done as fast as possible. PATC money shot of all money shots. The playoff will remain at 12 teams in 2026. But Heupel told On 3 he prefers a 24-team format which the Big Ten has proposed. The way college football is constantly changing. That probably makes the most sense, he said. Josh Heupel, he prefers a 24-team format. The challenge now for the Vols is not just to get to the playoffs, but to make a run in the playoff after a year removed from seeing Ole Miss advance to the semifinals in Indiana, win it all. Tennessee fans are collectively saying, why not us? Why not us? So is Heupel. My goal is to go win the championship too. That's why I want to be here. I know you can do it here, Heupel said, who won a national championship as a player in 2000 at Oklahoma. We're in a race to get it done as fast as possible. I love the people that we have here, and that's our staff, our players. We're going to compete for that thing every day. Now, the money shot is here. At the top of the page, the playoff will remain at 12 teams in 2026. But Heupel told On 3 he prefers a 2014 playoff format, which the Big Ten has proposed. Now, a lot of you might be saying, okay, Greg, all right, we got to give it up to you a little bit here. You've been running uphill. The fat guy from Minnesota has been running uphill. His lungs are gone. The fat guy is gassed. Greg is about to have a heart attack, but we got to give a little bit up to him. I mean, Kirby Smart is open to it. Josh Heupel favors it. But Greg, come on. The mountain is it's too much for you. We're trying to help you, Greg. We're spreading the word. But this ain't never going to happen. The 2014 playoffs ain't never going to happen. It's too stupid. It ain't going to work. It's childish. Don't you know that Reese Davis said it was absurd? Josh Pate said it was pathetic. Everybody has been ripping on it, Greg. Everybody has been ripping on it. All right? Well, buckle up, muchachos. Chris Lowe. As a follow-up to my sit-down with Josh Heupel, he won't be alone among SEC coaches, publicly or privately, preferring a 2014 playoff, especially going to 9 league games. Keep in mind that he's already led Tennessee to a playoff appearance in the current 12-team format. Chris Lowe. As a follow-up to my sit-down with Josh Heupel, he won't be alone among SEC coaches, publicly or privately preferring a 2014 playoff. Josh Heupel is not alone. Kirby Smart is not alone. Missouri, Eli Drinkowitz is not alone. The Army of 24 is backing you up all the way. We are giving you the cover. We are the ones that took the arrows. We are the ones that took the shots. Now come on aboard. Momentum is picking up. Momentum is picking up. Momentum is picking up. Hold that thought. Because there are some people that are trying to rain on our dancing parade. There are some people that have taken out the hose and they're spraying us. We're dancing on the 50-yard line. We're dancing on the 50-yard line. And people are raining our parade. But I got an answer to that. Hold on a second. I've got an answer to that. We've got OBD Don. Massive super chat. Massive super chat. Opie brings up a very good point. 456 days until June 1st, 2027. Tick, 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 tick. That was for you, Jay Chapman. Thank you for the $25 holler, Opie. Thank you so much for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. You have been a very big-time supporter, keeping us lights on, growing the channel. Thank you, Opie. Thank you for your very huge generosity to this channel and for your creative super chats. Thank you so very much, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, June 1st. For those who are wondering what that is all about, well, let's just say this. I don't want to go down that road today, but June 1st is the last day in which you can file your notice of withdrawal if you want to join another conference, going from the ACC to whatever conference you want to join on July 1st of 2028. That's what that June 1st, 2027 date is. And I believe here at Peek Around the Corner, I believe that date is probably a little bit, I think it's more important than I think people are thinking it is right now. I ain't saying, but I'm saying. And we're going to talk more about that during this off season in the Holy Smokes Theater. I got to tell you, if you're not a part of this program, if you have not subscribed and gotten yourself notified by ringing the bell, do it today. Just do it today. Very easy. Doesn't cost anything. Just subscribe, ring that notification bell. And hopefully you get entertained along the way. But maybe not. Maybe not. Just hit the mute button when I start singing. Thank you, OPD Dunn. I appreciate your generosity. Now, what was I talking about? The 2014 playoffs. There was one point that I wanted to make. And it's absolutely has escaped me. What was I just talking about? Got it. It's hard getting old. It's hard getting old. Momentum, 24 playoffs, Josh Heupel. It has completely escaped me. There's something that I wanted. The growth of the Army. I can't remember what I was going to say. Rats. I think it was going to be epic. I don't know. I can't remember where I was going with it. There's one more part I wanted to. My goodness. Oh, got it. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not very bright. Okay, so Chris Lowe says here, as a follow-up to my sit-down with Josh Heupel, he won't be alone among SEC coaches publicly or privately preferring the 2014 playoff. And then I went on to say that people wanted to rain on our parade, right? Wanted to rain on our dancing. Army of 24, the momentum. We've had a few comments from a few national reporters today and fan bases, fans saying, well, good for you. Josh Heupel, he wants it. Kirby Smart, it looks like he would be for it. We know Eli Drinkwitz is most likely going to prefer the 24 over the 16. And then Chris Lowe said Josh Heupel won't be the only one. Right? He won't be alone among SEC coaches. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, Greg, who cares? So the coaches are for it. Maybe there'll be a growing movement that the coaches are for it. Who really cares? Now, I did a horrible job. I mistyped this out, but this is Andy Staples earlier today. I wouldn't be shocked if the majority of coaches would prefer this. They think it would help them stay employed, and a lot of them have bonuses for making the CFP. But don't do it, Andy Staples says. I wouldn't be shocked if the majority of coaches would prefer this. Some other people are saying it doesn't matter what the coaches are for or not. Hold on a moment here. Hold on a moment. Didn't we just live through last year, Destin, Florida? Didn't we just live through where before the Southeastern Conference spring meetings, the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference had advisory groups? Remember that? And out of those advisory groups, 13 of the 16 athletic directors in the Southeastern Conference supported the 4-4-2-2-1-3. The chatter behind the curtain was so strong that I came out and I reported it was a fait accompli, that the SEC and the Big Ten in the next playoffs would have 4 AQs each. I was so sure that I bet one of you Einsteins that if I was wrong, if I was going to take the L on that I would eat a cheeseburger live. What happened? Doesn't anybody remember what happened? It went Destin, Florida, Southeastern Conference meeting. The coaches revolted. They absolutely destroyed it. The Southeastern Conference destroyed the consensus that the Big Ten and the SEC athletic directors and commissioners formulated in the advisory groups. The Southeastern Conference coaches, they blew it all up. It was done after that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. If the coaches can destroy, the coaches in the Southeastern Conference can create. If their voices are so powerful that they can upend a consensus agreement between the Big Ten and the SEC and the college football playoff format, the Southeastern Conference can get up on their horses and ride like the wind and join the army of 24, and we can get there. We can get there, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Lowe has reported it. Josh Heupel supports it. Kirby Smart, Eli Drinkwitz, and there's more. There is more. If the coaches go there and say, you know, the bowl system, even the very top end of it, that's not really, it's not working for us anymore. We go to a 2014 playoff with no AQs, that works for us. We want to have those home games. 9 through 16 seed, first round home games, 1 through 8 seed, second round home games. We want those home games. Now, eliminating the Southeastern Conference Championship game, that's a problem. But we're all going to make more money. We're all going to make more money in this next era of college football 2014 playoffs, especially us in the SEC. We get 29% of the money. And that playoff money is only going to increase. We're going to go from 11 games to 23. ESPN's going to grab the next 2, and then the other next 10 are up for bid. Open bid. CBS would love to have a playoff game where the home game is in Tennessee. Amazon would love to have a home game that a playoff game is in Alabama, in LSU, in Georgia. You got a 24 team. You're gonna get a Missouri in there. You at some point Kentucky's gonna get in there. You know it. I know it. Let's get it done. So for those who are saying the coaches, they don't mean anything. That's the mistake that I made last year. It is quite obvious that the coaches, what they support, what they don't support, means a lot in the Southeastern Conference. I'm telling you, buckle up. Buckle up for the month of May. Buckle up. buckle up. That spring SEC meetings in May is going to determine a lot of things in college football. However, that's not even the biggest story of today. That is not even the biggest story of today. We haven't even gotten to it yet, and we're going to get to it right now. I know this monologue has already been an hour and 20 minutes. Normally, I would apologize to all of you, but I'm not going to. This is a big, big day in college football. A lot of story. There's stuff I haven't. There's things I'm not even able to touch today that we're going to touch on tomorrow. So buckle up tomorrow, March 3rd. We've got another massive super chats from OB.D. Dunn. OB.D. Dunn, man, I do that a lot, Greg. Losing my thoughts. But sorry for getting you off topic. But should that mute button be an easy mute button or just a tiny, tiny button? It's not your fault, Opie. It's not your fault that I got off track. There is so much college football stuff going on today. I wanted to do the Tom Fornelli quarterback rankings for the Big Ten because I'm doing that this week. He just did it just now. I'm doing my own rankings. Our rankings don't match at all. I got too many things crammed up in this head. So some stuff is leaking out through the ears. So when you put your comment up, it was just more, I was just cramming that in and stuff leaked out my other ear. So not your fault, my fault. Thank you, OPD Dunn. Thank you for your $15 holler. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for your generosity. There's a lot of comments that I'm not being able to get to because this has been a long monologue. We haven't gotten to the biggest story. To make sure I get to your comments, super chats, I will get to. Phone calls, I will get to. And then I'll try to get to some other comments. But of course, super chats have to supersede, and phone calls are going to be pretty important in this live show. I appreciate you all joining us. Again, long monologue, but I could not avoid it. I had to throw an elbow at the SEC. I had to throw that elbow at the Big Ten. It's all happening today. It's all happening today. Now, here we go. Louisville Cardinals. College athletics is at a structural inflection point from the arena, not the sidelines. College athletics is running out of time. President Dr. Jerry Bradley, Josh Heard, Vice President, Director of Athletics, Dr. Lawrence N. Bentz, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. Now, we're not going to be able to get through. I'm not going to read this whole thing. None of you wants me to read this whole thing. All right? Please take time. I'll put a link in the description box below the video. Find it but it's easy to find. It's all over the place. A statement by the University of Louisville. I'm generally going to go over, a lot of this is just, we've all talked about, right? Ohio State Athletic Department won the College Football Playoff National Championship and lost $37.7 million the same fiscal year. Penn State is carrying a $534 million debt. Rutgers has accumulated $516. The Louisville program generates $1.28 billion annually in economic impact for a city and commonwealth, is running a $12.5 million deficits with reserves drawn down from $34 million to $3.4 million. These are not stories of mismanagement. They are symptoms of a structural crisis that no individual institution can fix on its own. Well, some of that might be mismanagement. Some of it might not be. Some of it's definitely not a crisis. Ohio State is not in a crisis. Penn State is not in a crisis. Ohio State has what? How many sponsored teams? 37, 38 teams. However, we do have problems, no question about it. Louisville goes on to say we write not as observers or commentators, but as the president, athletic director, and the board chairman of a Power 4 university who lives with these numbers every day. Okay, and then it goes on to talk about insight into one athletic department. Louisville participates in one of 23 sports. 23 sports. We are tasked with ensuring those same students have a great experience while they participate in college athletics and compete for the University of Louisville. It talks about the grade point average. Okay. We provide countless resources to our student athletes to ensure they have tools necessary to be successful in and out of the classroom. Athletic departments are economic engines. Louisville, our community does not have an NBA, NHL, NFL, MLS, WNBA, or MLL team within 100 miles. The University of Louisville sport teams are who the city cheers for, plain and simple. Communities revolve around college sports. Louisville certainly does, but so does Stillwater, Oklahoma, Morgantown, West Virginia, Manhattan, Kansas, and hundreds of other cities and towns across America. Then it talks about the incredible valuation Louisville community experiences every day because of the athlete sports. Through national broadcast, streaming platforms, social media, radio, and print coverage, Louisville Athletics deliver more than $2.3 billion in brand exposure value over the same 3 years. That exposure elevates University of Louisville far beyond athletics, supporting student recruitment, enrollment, interests. Okay, we've talked about all this stuff, all right? Louisville's talking about their own experience with all this, correct? More numbers backing it up. Football alone counts for 60% of the $721 million in direct economic activities in just 3 years. Louisville Athletics is not just simply a competitive enterprise. It is a strategic asset for the university, the city, and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It fuels the local economy. It amplifies the university's brand nationally, attracts visitors and investment, strengthens academic outcomes, and deepens community pride. Losing any part of this engine would not only diminish Louisville, it would weaken the broader economic and social fabric of the region. The financial crisis facing college athletics. So again, I'm not going to read through all this, but basically, Louisville spent $167 million against $154 million in revenue, a deficit of $12.5 million. The gap is projected to widen significantly under the House v. NCAA settlement, which has added an additional $20.5 million in new direct athletic compensation obligations. To bridge the shortfalls, Louisville has relied on a $12 million institutional subsidy, $200 per student athlete athletic fee, $25 million line of credit. $25 million line of credit. The reserves that Louisville had once stood at $34 million, has been drawn down to approximately $3.4 million. These are not signs of mismanagement. There are symptoms of a structural program that no single institution can solve on its own. So Louisville is like, they're not taking any responsibility. All right. Louisville's situation is not the exception. It's the rule. Across the country, from the wealthiest programs in the nation to those fighting simply to stay afloat, the financial picture is remarkably and alarmingly similar. Then it talks about the Buckeyes, Rutgers, Florida State, Texas, Colorado. It talks about all the numbers. Talks about Deion Sanders' salary. Then it goes on and talks about the paradox of NIL and revenue sharing. We do not disagree that the student athletes deserve to share in the value they create, but the uncomfortable reality is that as currently structured, these changes benefit a small number of athletes and a handful of sports while placing enormous pressure on everyone else. I think we all can agree to that. Louisville sponsors 23 sports, 14 for men, 14 for women, 9 for men. 21 of those operate in the red, 2 operate in the black. Again, we all know this. This is how it works. There's really nothing new here. Going through the numbers. College football playoff revenues are no longer equally distributed among ACC members, as significant portions are now being distributed based on playoff success. As we recently witnessed with Miami CFP's success, they secured a $20 million payday for their department. Okay? That hurt Louisville. That hurt everybody in the ACC. It helped Miami, but it hurt everybody else. The consequence is a zero-sum calculus. Every additional dollar directed toward football and men's basketball is a dollar that is not available for the swimmer, for the field hockey player, for the track athlete, or the rower. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't believe it's a zero-sum calculus. That's my opinion. And I say that because you have a better chance of creating more revenue for your athletic department when you invest in a basketball, football program than you would with a rowing program, if you do with a wrestling program. So it's not quite zero-sum calculus. But anyways, doesn't matter for what we're talking about here. Olympic sports student athletes face reduced cost of attendance stipends, diminished Alston payments, and a very real threat for scholarship reductions. This is the paradox. Okay, so basically, so far, Louisville has gone over the problems, economic problems, that a lot of institutions share. A lot of them. Okay? They put it out there pretty good. Now, here is the part that I want to focus on. The path forward. We applaud all of those in and around college sports industry who have come forward in recent months with ideas and potential solutions. No idea should be considered a non-starter. We recognize that where an institution stands depends on where they sit. A variety of factors come into play when schools are deciding what solutions might work best for them. These are complicated issues with a variety of potential solutions. However, we do passionately believe that there are three things that must happen: congressional action, a governing body that can actually govern, and a hard and enforceable spending cap. Louisville Cardinals, University of Louisville, three things must happen: congressional action, a governing body that can actually govern, and a hard and enforceable spending cap. I have not really disagreed with anything that Louisville has said so far. Now, the hard cap, in my mind, could be a soft cap like the NBA, but I understand what they're saying. And I don't necessarily disagree. This is the part that's got a lot of people talking. Congressional action. Again, Louisville. The cynics will say Congress shouldn't be involved in college sports. We would argue that just like any other industry that has been unable or unwilling to govern itself, Congress must get involved before it's too late. I don't know anybody who's saying that Congress should not be involved in college sports. I don't know one person who's saying that. Even I haven't said that. I have said Congress, I have said that a government entity should not be running college sports, but I don't think anybody has said that Congress should not be involved in college sports. That these are public institutions. Of course, there's going to be some oversight. So Louisville says the cynics will say Congress shouldn't be. I'm cynic on. I don't know anybody who's saying this. I don't know one person who's saying this. But not all that important. I'll get off it. Louisville. The cynics will say Congress shouldn't be involved in college sports. We would argue that just like any other industry that has been unable or unwilling to govern itself, Congress must get involved before it's too late. For this to happen, industry constituencies must coalesce around a practical solution that provides support and protections to all involved. As opposed to being governed by a patchwork of lawsuit settlements, state laws constantly changing, regulations, we challenge all involved, student athletes, conference commissioners, university presidents, and athletic directors to come together to support a legislative fix that provides protections to all involved. There are many drafts of bills and ideas that have been floated over the past few years by those inside and outside Capitol Hill. The SCORE Act addresses some important governance and eligibility rules, while the SAFE Act goes further by proposing amendments to the Sports Broadcasting Act. Louisville. We also believe that an amendment to the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 should be under consideration. The law granted professional sports leagues, including the NFL, an antitrust exemption that allows the league to bundle and sell the television rights of all their franchises collectively. College athletics has no such exemption. Instead, individual conferences negotiate their own media deals, resulting in a wildly fragmented marketplace. One independent analyst suggested if college athletics were granted a similar exemption and could negotiate media rights as one unified entity, the resulting deals could generate between 2 to 3 times the current media rights revenue. Other analysis suggests a lower number. Regardless, the revenue would not need to be split evenly. Schools that generate more viewership could still receive proportionately more, but the rising tide would lift every institution. Now, the revenue would not need to be split evenly, but the schools that generate more viewership would still receive proportionately more, but the rising tide would lift every institution. Okay, first of all, we're not done with that. We're not even to the most important part of that. Viewership numbers do not equate value. It's not a one-on-one. So Louisville, basically what Louisville is saying is, we're going to rearrange the chairs on the Titanic. We're going to make, now some schools are going to make way more than others. We're still not going to have this parity, but we're going to just make it based on viewership numbers. Not based upon market valuation, not based upon demographics, not based upon what national media companies base their value and the advertisers that pay the money. Louisville's willing to, it doesn't have to be split evenly, it just has to be based on viewership number. For a school and a conference like Louisville and the ACC, this could be transformational. It could mean the difference between budget deficits and sustainability, between cutting programs and expanding opportunities. Again, we don't have all the answers, nor are we the experts, but believe that everything should be on the table. Okay, everything on the table. Everything on the table. What is permissible in one, okay, then they talk about the different state laws. At a minimum, federal legislation should make the playing field fair. Again, we don't have the answers, but we know the congressional action is a key piece of the pyramid to addressing the college sports crisis. Passage of the SCORE Act by the House of Representatives would be an important step in the right direction. Passing legislation in the House would transition the debate to the Senate, where there has been an increased support to adjust or amend the Sports Broadcasting Act to include college sports. Now we come to it all. Governance. When we think of governance of any entity, we think of leadership that is respectful, proactive, fairly enforces the rules, and works for the benefit of the whole, not the part. Currently, in our college sports system, we have the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA, the College Sports Commission, the conferences themselves, and as noted above, states involving themselves in the governance of college sports. This collection of oversight is not working, and alternatives should be considered. As a result of the terms of the House settlement, the major conferences established the College Sports Commission to codify the rules and to enforce them. To date, that has been a struggle. Conferences and institutions can't even agree on the terms of a participation agreement that would bind the schools to rules and procedures. That's not putting the blame on the people of the CSC or whatever, but it's all been a struggle, right? Here it is. Perhaps the best solution, again, Louisville. Perhaps the best solution is start from scratch in a form of a congressionally charted governing body that could provide a more durable and coherent framework for intercollegiate athletics. Such a body could establish uniform national standards that address long-standing structural challenges while withstanding legal scrutiny. These standards would explicitly advance gender equity, ensure sustainable balance between revenue and non-revenue sports, and preserve the Olympic sports model that remains central to higher education's public mission. Perhaps the best solution is to start from scratch in a form chartered governing body. And of course, Louisville leaves out the part about how this governing body is they're going to govern everything. Everything. And then it says, if not that, the NCAA must be given the power to set and enforce. So back to the get this thing codified, right? Perhaps the best solution is to start from scratch in a form of a congressionally chartered governing body. Throw everything out the window. Let's bring in the government body. Dennis Dodd. Looks like Go Cards Louisville is coming out big time in support of Cody Campbell's SAFE Act. Cody Campbell himself. It's great to see Louisville athletics stepping out and becoming leaders in an effort for much needed reform in college sports. Their analysis and ideas are well informed and right on target. Go Cards. There is more to it. There's a whole lot, but I was not going to read that whole thing. Go ahead and read it yourself. Come to your own conclusions. But the national reporters, the chatter behind the curtain, everybody that I talked with, Cody Campbell himself, there's a lot of examples. I wasn't going to show you guys. This is supporting Cody Campbell's plan. Start from scratch, governing charter. Again, repeal the Broadcasting Act of 1961. But Louisville's not talking about people having an option to do that. This would be mandated. The conferences would not be negotiating. Oh, we're still going to have different levels of money coming to us, but it's going to be based on viewership. Do you know what affects viewership as well? It's where you are, what channel you're on, what time slot you're on, how much marketing. You're gonna have 138 teams, FBS teams agree to that plan, where everybody gets paid, but just based on viewership number during a season. I love you, Louisville Cardinals. We got a couple Louisville Cardinal people in the PATC family. I appreciate all of you. But again, you all know how I sit with the Cody Campbell plan. It's ridiculous. It's the worst idea I've ever heard. But it's got support. It does. And I get it. It's desperate times out there. There are desperate times out. I get it. It's not just Louisville. It's a lot of programs. It's a lot of programs. Repeal the Broadcasting Act. Repeal it. Go for it. Just don't make it mandatory. Let the schools and the commissioners decide what they want to do. Louisville is supporting the Cody Campbell plan that would shut down the SEC network and the Big Ten network. That's just not going to happen. But this is why the Big Ten and the SEC put out their white papers. They know there's this other force. We've been talking about this for months. There's this force out there. There is a force out there that wants to rip everything up, start from scratch. Louisville just said it. Let's start from scratch. So every decision that everybody has ever made doesn't matter. Every investment has not mattered. Every risk has not mattered. The freedom of association is completely gone. Completely gone. Louisville, I love you. But you took that ACC spot. That very well could have been UConn, but you took it. And you made a lot more money than UConn has in the last 10 years because you got that spot. Congratulations. Freedom of association. And now you want to start from scratch. Now you are supporting Cody Campbell's plan. All right, I'm going to get some of your comments. Get to some of your comments. We'll get to your phone calls in a moment. It's a long article, a lot of long article. It's not going to happen. But again, I'm not going to. I know it's not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. The SEC will be out the door it ain't going to happen. But I'm going to keep talking about it as more schools publicly support it, because again, Louisville, everybody knows that Louisville has just come out and supported the Cody Campbell plan, and Louisville failed to discuss what the Cody Campbell plan actually is. It happens every single time. I mean, Louisville, I gotta give a little bit of flowers to Louisville. They did say government chartered entity is going to run things. They did not list everything that they were going to run, but at least they went there. They were truthful. Army of 24. All right. Let's get to your phone calls. Again, I'll get to some of your comments here. Super chat, super seed, phone calls. The most important thing in PATC, the phone number is up 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, BYU Cougar.
To send a voicemail,
Whoops.
press 2.
Sorry about that, Ryan. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing pretty good.
Um, I support the Flugar plan, so that's where I'm going to vote.
I really don't have a plan uh, other
well,
than other than innovation, innovation, innovation. That is my plan. And I don't
well,
know. Go ahead.
I, I don't. I'm against, even as a Big 12 guy, I'm against the Campbell plan for a couple of reasons. First of all, a lot of what needs to be done as far as agreeing to rules and governance and focus, those things can be done by a private organization on its own. And to be honest, the enemy kind of in all of this is ESPN, and I don't see how them all pulling their rights together. ESPN's going to still find a way to screw them all or lock them up long term. I mean, that's just how ESPN is. And I also probably think come 2031, the Big 12 is probably going to get a pretty good offer or deal from this Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery type thing if they get things going on TNT. So I mean,
Yep.
they might end up getting more money later on. So I mean, I think these conferences can will make more money bidding out their product later, and they have to build that product, and that's just how it is. And where I really come to this, and the biggest problem with Campbell's plan, is we just need to be flat out honest. The FBS is too big, Greg. It's too big. And, at some point, should it be a P2 breakoff? No, I don't think it should be a P2 breakoff. But I do think that there needs to be a split there and depending on what happens with the ACC, if the ACC loses people in backfields from the American, then I really think your split needs to be the A4 plus, the new Pac-12 and, and that needs to be some sort of football playoff subdivision why the Sun Belt, MAC, Mountain West, and the rest of those can be, in a separate subdivision. So we would have 3 subdivisions in D1. I mean, I really think that's where that needs to go, and each subdivision needs to have its own rules and different things. I think that, that's part of the problem. I don't, the NCAA is a mess because it's too huge and too bureaucratic. And, how are we supposed to think that Cody Campbell's big bureaucratic plan is somehow going to be less of a mess at the the NCAA is already a disaster, Greg. I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense at all here.
No, you are. You always make sense, Ryan.
Well, that depends. I mean, maybe I need to be, maybe
No,
I need to
I
be
don't
higher,
always agree with you, but you always make sense.
But I mean, but I think that's the problem with this. I think what Campbell's trying to do here subtly, and what I honestly think he's trying to do, is he's trying to accumulate power for himself so he can use it as a way to kind of check his rivals in Texas, so to say. That's what I really think this comes down to.
Yeah.
I'm being cynical, I know, but I think that's what it really comes down to. I think that ultimately these schools that have these problems right now, a lot of these debts are being driven by huge, massive construction projects on facilities, and I get that, and I understand that.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
Here's the thing: is my Cougars, and they don't get money from the church; they get from donors.
Mm-hmm.
They run debt free, and they're able to effectively raise the money they need to build things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think sometimes when it really comes down to it, it's it's not a revenue problem. I think it's a spending problem for a lot of these folks, Greg. And it's lining up your fundraisers and getting it right and being effective. And I think that's really what it really comes down to. I mean,
mm-hmm.
it can be done. There are plenty of schools that do a good job with it. I mean, you look at UCLA, Rutgers, or Maryland, and it doesn't matter how much cash they raise, Greg. It doesn't matter how much cash they get in revenue from the Big Ten. They're still a disaster financially.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, these schools need to kind of be a little bit more realistic in how they handle things, and it can be done. But Man, I think right now, maybe it's just time to split a new subdivision, not quite a break off of, 48, maybe something bigger, but there needs to be something, and then they need to do it privately. I think that'll probably tempt down this, but it's basically like a horrible traffic, mess that's all over the place. It's a bleepity bleep, cluster, Greg, if that makes sense.
Let me ask you a
And
question.
go ahead,
Let
sir.
me ask you a question. Do you think that maybe there might be a little bit more traction of Cody Campbell's plan among ACC schools versus Big 12 schools? And I and I
I
and
don't.
and I ask
Go
that
ahead.
because the ACC is a little bit, they don't they're not really open up for a new media negotiations until 2036 when it comes to the tier one,
Yeah, yeah,
and the Big 12s is coming up here in a couple of years. That's
yeah.
number one, and just politically, um, maybe some Big 12, maybe more ACC schools would be more favorable to that type of plan than Big 12 schools. What are your thoughts on that? Are we going to get a few more ACC schools supporting the Cody Campbell plan over the Big 12 schools?
Well, I mean, I'll let the ACC fans in the chat speak to that. I see logically your point because their media deal is sort of further out from being done. And I also think that the ACC I think what I also think is those schools realize, Greg, that they might lose their big, bell cows. They might lose FSU and Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they
Yeah.
might, I think
Yeah.
the ACC schools might be doing this because they sort of see
Yeah.
the light behind the tunnel, because there's no guarantee that the Big 12, they'll be there. I mean, certainly, I mean, I could see a number of them go to the Big 12 like a Louisville, but there's no guarantee everything's going to work out. I mean, if you have a P2 break off or something like that, they could be in a world of hurt. So, they may want to be just trying to stabilize their situation the best they can. I mean, there's no guarantee some of them are going to have a life raft. And certainly I think, some of them could end up in, the Big Ten or SEC, and, some of them will end up in the Big 12. But I think at the same time, there's just really no guarantee to any of that right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think schools like FSU will probably be just fine because, they're a massive brand, and they're doing good things. So I think somehow, some way, FSU is going to land in a good place. And that's a great position to be in.
Yeah.
But I do think that, it's not guaranteed. UNC and FSU are probably the two that are probably going to be guaranteed a good landing spot. But I'm not sure that it can be said for a lot of the rest of them, even Clemson. Although Clemson probably will be okay, but there is a doomsday scenario for them. So I mean, I think that's probably what's lining up. So I hopefully. I've said this before. Maybe this is just sort of trading leverage and barbs, and now that you kind of know the nuclear option for the SEC and the Big Ten of breaking off, which that's not going to be easy either, Greg. I mean, because there will be some things where legitimately they could have their tax exempt status or their athletic revenues taxed. So I mean, this is sort of, there's some worst case scenarios here, but I'm hopeful that at least some point people will realize that the path of mutually assured destruction is not the best path. But then again, this isn't 60 years ago when people were more rational. We're living in a very irrational day, now where everybody wants to get ahead of everybody and do what they can to cheat or undercut their rivals. But I'm at least hopeful at some point, maybe if we can maybe people realize that that things can blow up altogether and ruin everything, maybe that will have a great way of concentrating minds on focusing to do the right thing. But, I'm cynical about a lot of things these days, Greg, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, maybe because I'm just, you and I are just kind of those Gen Xers that are just sitting out there. Maybe we're just becoming bitter old people, or maybe it's just, people are becoming crazier. I'll let everybody decide that on their own. But anyway,
All right,
great job on the show, Greg.
Appreciate
Take care,
it.
my friend.
You got it. Beautiful call, sir. Ryan Thomas. We've got a super chat. There is a Kuz. Kuz is in the house, and he put out a comment here that I want to get to.
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you hold on for a moment?
Take down.
I am way behind. Thank you, Mr. LSU Tiger. Appreciate it very much. Mowing After Dark. Massive super chat. Thank you, Moan, for letting me get on your College Football Mafia show last Friday night. I hope I did not embarrass myself. I was professional as I possibly could. Das Nadia, some Russian word, to autonomy. Glorious leader Cody Campbell has decreed the state must decide and distribute the wealth. The state, the state, the state. Thank you for the $10 holler, Mo, and I very much appreciate it. Again, I mean, I think Louisville I'm glad Louisville said that in their comments, but it's like, so how are you going to figure out who gets what? I mean, the Big Ten is going to have a little bit of a battle with each other here going into their next media negotiations. Are we going to go to unequal revenue sharing? Probably. The Buckeyes are going to get a little bit more than everybody else. And we're going to be fighting over this little percentile here, little percentile there. And hopefully we can all get together, 18 schools or 20 at the time, whatever it is. But, it's sort of to try to get 138 schools and figure out how much they're going to make under this government entity, this panel that's going to be doing the negotiations. It's a complete disaster. It's not going to work. And Louisville, just bringing up their example, it should be based on viewership. It's like, come on. You're not going to be able to get 138 teams under one media negotiations umbrella. The distribution, the state, they're not going to be able to figure it out. It's going to be a war. People are not going to agree with it. It's going to be, and then, in the Big Ten, you can fire your commissioner. In the Big 12, you can get rid of your commissioner. In the SEC, you can get rid of your commissioner. The Pac-12 did. But are you going to be able to get rid of this entity that does all your decision making? Mowing After Dark, thank you for the $10 holler. Very much appreciated. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your generosity. Christopher Hooter, can you hold on just for another minute, please?
No problem.
I appreciate it. Coos Corner brings up, Coos Corner says, everyone better start negotiating now. If not, the NFL may gobble up all the money. Great point. And I don't think we can lose sight of, okay, let's go back in history. October 30, 2022, Brett Yormark gets the deal done with ESPN and Fox. The Big 12 got ahead of the ACC, even though the ACC was ahead of the Big 12 when it came to their exclusive negotiating window with their current media partners, Fox and ESPN. The Big 12 leaped ahead. And that leap in ahead absolutely dismantled the Pac-12. How important is it going to be that the Big 12 is going to go in their next meeting negotiations sometime in 29, 30, maybe earlier, depending on what Fox and ESPN, maybe they're going to move up that exclusive window. Maybe that NFL stuff is going to have a big impact, but how advantageous, how valuable is it going to be for the Big 12 to be able to negotiate their next media rights years ahead of the ACC? It could mean everything. It could mean everything for the Big 12. It could. So the Big 12's got a lot more flexibility going forward. Christopher Hooter, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Howdy, Greg. Great show.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. I had a long day. Yeah, I was doing bookkeeping today.
Oh, all right.
You're right. Louisville. Well, get ready, drip, drip, drip. They're just the first one.
Yeah.
Is anybody not in the Power 2 or not Notre Dame or not Power 2, hopefuls are probably going to do the same thing. And I guess we can't blame them. But what's absurd about the Cody Campbell idea is that he's including all 138 schools. That's what's ridiculous about it.
Politically, he had to get enough
he
traction.
Had to. I understand.
Yep.
To get support, but that's just what's outrageous. He could come down to earth a little bit, and with the 67 or 68, whatever it is in the Power 4, right? And maybe you'd get a more receptive audience. But how did these other teams, a lot of these G5 that kind of they just make a decision, right? We're going to go to Division 1A or whatever we call it now. And there's probably not enough pushback historically. Okay, well you're a G6 now, right? So I don't know. It's a mess.
Yeah.
When they quoted the Penn State and Ohio State the numbers, well, again, the Penn State debt is mostly capital expenditure.
Yeah.
Right, so that's different, right? I'm building, I'm adding on to a stadium. I'm building, suites or boxes or whatever. So that's a different kind of debt, and it's I don't know. It's a little disingenuous when they throw stuff like that in there. And even the Ohio State number, he said they had a deficit in 23, 24 or whatever. Well, it wasn't a football deficit, but I think that year they had one less home game, and that didn't help, right?
Yes. Yep.
So there's little things like that, and I understand they're cherry picking. Here's the big programs, and even they can't make enough money there. But it comes across as when you kind of dive in a little deeper is kind of reaching.
Yeah.
Back to your buddy Greg Sankey. Yeah.
I threw an elbow at him.
Right, but the one transfer rule, trying to put the genie back in the bottle.
I don't think he's going to be able to do that.
Well, and of course, I'm sure there would be carve-outs, like if your coach leaves, things like that. But well, can you do that in a silo?
You may be able to do that. You may be able to make that rule and be able to enforce that rule. You may be able to do that, and maybe that's why he's putting it out there now, because to try to carve the landscape how he wants it, to try to put that out there. So if they go to their own silo, Sankey can say later, look, I warned everybody, this is one of the things that we wanted to have done and no one listened to me.
And it is bad for academics to be transferring every year, right? I mean,
it is. Yep.
It's funny. I mean, how many credits do you carry along from school to school to school when you keep transferring, right? And you're certainly not going to finish a degree. But yeah, I think I hate to say blah blah silo. That's what I keep hearing. And I don't think, and again, I don't think your 24-team playoff is a big enough carrot. I think they've got to have antitrust protection. And if the only way they can politically do that is the Cody Campbell plan, then they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or if they do it, they're going to lose the power too, because they're going to say we're not participating.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
Huh.
We are on the edge right now.
I'm glad I'm not a university president or an athletic director. You know, well,
yeah.
Period. But not in a non-power tool, because it's going to be brutal.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? In 10 years from now, maybe most of the football programs will be mothballed. maybe we'll go back to clubs or whatever, right? Maybe it's 1890 all over again.
Could be.
Hope not.
Yeah.
But maybe. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
All right,
kind of came to me while I was listening to the program. Great program. Yeah, I appreciate you keeping us up to date on all that stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Talk to you.
Great call. All right. It has been a long show, a fantastic show.
From
Rick?
Rick is on the line. Can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Of course.
I just want to say, everybody, thank you for joining us on a Monday, March 2nd live show. We're going to be back on live tomorrow, Tuesday, March 3rd. We're going to be talking about some Big Ten quarterback rankings. We did the Big 12 last week. We're doing the Big 10 this week. So hopefully everybody joins us. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the notification bell, smash the like button if you've enjoyed our content. I appreciate you all joining us. Go ahead, Rick. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think it's good to keep a scorecard of, you know, who wants this and who doesn't. That's a good thing, but you know, in the end, I think we're all agreeing that's not going to really matter, because if it comes to that, there will be the Big Two going into the silos, and that's a given. So
I think so.
keep score and watch the game get played out. But I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep over it. The other thing is, what was I going to say? Oh, on the 3 out of conference games. Man, I'm just not losing sleep over that. Because the thing is, when week 6 or 7 rolls around, and the BCS gets together and racks them and stacks them, and does their thing where they give whatever credence they're going to give to the teams that you've played, it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of difference if you've played Boston College or Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
If you played Oklahoma State, or if you played, there's a good one, USF. They're a good G6, huh? Or if you played Boise State.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid a North Dakota State. So, and plus you're scheduling it 5 years in advance. So it's foolishness. It's absolutely silly. If you get 3 free games to schedule any way you want. You want to play Kemp P4, do it. If you don't, that's okay too. So when they come to grade you, you'll be graded accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually give more weight if that G6 team is doing really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because the Big Ten, most of the schools are already doing it, why not just make it a requirement? Because I think they've lost the high ground on this. Not
No, I don't think so. I don't like requirements.
okay.
Why have a requirement? You got 3 games. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't, you don't. Your requirement is that you play 9 conference. That I'm all for. Everybody 9 conference games. Perfect. But what you do with your 3 free ones, do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, maybe you'll get rewarded for playing somebody harder. But how do you know 5 years in advance who's going to be harder?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I ask you as a Gopher fan, would you rather play Stanford in your opening game or Tulane?
I don't know. I don't know.
You do.
Huh?
Yeah, you do. You know you'd rather play Stanford.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
So that's my point there. And then last, great show. But yesterday, I hope the evil Badger is doing better. He
Yep.
sounded down, and,
Yep.
and we all support him. Although
Yes.
not everybody supports the Badgers, but
Yep.
everybody supports the evil Badger.
Yes,
And I hope that
absolutely.
he's doing better. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You take care.
Thank you for the great call, Rick. Appreciate it. Wonderful call. Great call by Rick. I want to, Anthony Easton, thanks for coming on in, Mr. Louisville Cardinal. Appreciate you coming on in. I think there's going to be more teams that are going to come out for the Cody Campbell plan. I don't doubt it. I think that was anticipated. And the Big Ten and the SEC, that's why they put the white paper out. I don't think we're going to learn much about the round table, but Trump's round table. But we're on the edge here, guys. Either we get codified. I don't know. I think we're at DEFCON 1, and we announced it months ago that that the Big Ten and the SEC, DEFCON 1, Big 12 and AC, and Brett Yormark is not even supporting what Campbell's saying. It's something else. Thank you, Moan After Dark, OPD Don, Amazing Blue, Eva Badger, Christopher Hooter, and Ricky Tungate for your incredible generosity today. I appreciate it so very much. I want to thank everybody for joining us again. Before you leave, smash the like button if you've liked our content today. Subscribe and get yourself notified by ringing the notification bell, because we can come on live at any time. We'll come on later on tonight if there is breaking news. Could come on early tomorrow morning. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gopher.